Southern Response is to appeal a High Court decision allowing a class action by 36 of its customers to proceed. Now, late last year, the High Court found the Southern Response policyholders had proven sufficient commonality as a group to take this class action rather than separate or individual claims. What's being alleged is that Southern Response engaged in a deliberate strategy designed to deceive policyholders and delay claims with a view to reducing its financial liability. Once again, Southern Response declined to be interviewed on Checkpoint, but in a statement said the class action would only delay the settlement of individual claims. It also said the group has no evidence to support their case and the class action should not have been allowed to proceed. So that's what Southern Response says in writing. The group's lawyer, Grant Cameron, disagrees. He says one of his clients settled with Southern Response for $1 million more than she was first offered, and the government-owned insurer is using stalling tactics.
Yeah, I think they're trying to create the public image that the class action is going to be a long, painful affair. They entirely control the speed at which this goes ahead. If the insurer wanted to do the right thing, it could settle the claims probably within a very short period of time. It could all be over literally within a month. On the other hand, dragging it out through the courts will both perhaps erode the class action in some fashion, they hope. I think that's very unlikely, but more particularly they might try and deter other people from joining.
Okay, I want to come in there because now Southern Response won't talk to us. In fact, they never give us interviews. But I have a media release from them, 30 January, 2:30 p.m. from Linda Falwasser, who is the head of strategic communications there.
Right.
And it's a very, very pointed document indeed. In fact, I haven't seen many documents like it. She says Southern Response holds serious concerns about the impact of the funding arrangements for the class action on individual customers.
Why would the insurer retain those sorts of concerns when it should be concerned to pay out to people the many hundreds of thousands of dollars that most of them are owed above and beyond what Southern Response has already suggested to them?
Grant, this remarkable statement, which is from Southern Response, written by Linda Falwasser, we'll put it online so that our listeners and viewers can read it, says Southern Response holds serious concerns about the impact of the funding arrangements for the class action on individual customers. Now, that seems to me to possibly suggest that you might be ripping people off. Is that your take on this?
I think that is an implication. It's designed to deter other people from coming forward because the court has now said that if other policyholders now want to join this action because it is proceeding, then there is an opt-in order in place. They've got until the 16th of April to join the action, and so the insurer is extremely worried that a lot of people are now going to come forward and join.
Okay, so you're talking about opting in. She says they're opting out. I'll read the relevant paragraph from this media release. The original representative for the group has now settled with Southern Response and has withdrawn from the action. An additional 10 other group members have also settled their claims with Southern Response and have withdrawn from the action or are in the process of doing so. Is that correct?
No, that's untrue. There are about another 5 people who have settled, and of course the very, very nature of the class action is to apply pressure to the insurer to do the right thing.
Right, so what you're saying, and this is really important, is that by being part of the class action, you are effectively placing extra pressure on Southern Response to settle, and the settlement is therefore a result of being a participant in the class action.
Exactly right. That instead of sitting there waiting for 5 or 6 years with nothing happening, talking to your insurer, by joining the class action, there is now very real and direct litigation pressure. The insurer does not want to go to court with this terrible bloody track record of not performing on its claims management, and so therefore is choosing to settle these things.
But she says, quite explicitly, that the settlement is evidence of the fact that people are deserting the class action.
That's absolute nonsense. All that's happening is that people are settling their entitlements, and they're doing it on grounds that we can recommend because they are full and fair settlements.
Right, so this is perverse, isn't it? Because you're saying that as a result of being in the class action, Southern Response are more likely to settle with you.
That's
She's
right.
saying, hey, you don't have to be in the class action because we're settling.
Yeah, well, people outside the class action are certainly settling because without the ability to litigate, they certainly can't prize their entitlements. So they're getting settled for considerable undervalue in most cases. If they're in the class action, nobody's getting settled for undervalue. when the claim is ready to be resolved, the insurer either chooses to pay up or sits there until such time as the court directs what will happen.
So you're saying that people do better and are getting more and are prepared to settle because they regard the offer as fair as a direct result of being in the class action?
Exactly. I think Maria DeVries' case is a perfect example.
Can you elaborate around that?
Yes, absolutely. Maria's case gives the point very clearly. The insurer said that she was entitled to about $277,000 from memory, and it was a repair. It was subsequently shown that the house needed to be rebuilt, and independent experts established that and estimated the cost of rebuild at $1.65 million. So that was the value of her claim, yet the insurer was nearly $1.5 million short of that figure. Now, she ultimately settled for a figure that Southern Response has released into the media for about $1.25 million. So she went up by $1 million, and even then that figure was short of the true value, only because she was insured for about 2/3 of the area of her house.
So she went up by $1 million as a result, you're saying, of being in the class action?
That's right.
Okay, how much did being in the class action cost her?
From memory, about $140,000. I'd have to check the figures, John. But
so Linda Falwasser and Southern Response would say, hey, Grant Cameron's clipping the ticket big time. You would say, but actually, as a result of being in the class action, she's $1 million better off.
Of that, yeah, absolutely, and she would say that publicly and has said so. And she's, I think, publicly stated she thought the costs were extremely good value. And of that, of the fees, 3/4 of that, 75%, went to the funder because it's funded and underwritten the action, and 25% came to the lawyers.
Have you seen the statement from Linda Falwasser from Southern Response?
I have, yeah.
What do you make of it?
I think it is a repetition of their theory of this whole affair, that it's really a form of insurer propaganda to try and say, look, we're doing the right thing, this is wonderful, these people are outside the pale, come to us or take some independent advice, and you really can do a good deal with us. Whereas we're saying that is nonsense, you are being misled, you certainly need to get advice from this quarter as well.
This is still pistols at dawn stuff, and once again, we would really like Southern Response to talk to us. And Linda Falwasser, you're capable of issuing a really pointed media release. We believe you're capable, therefore, of giving an interview to Radio New Zealand. But I am struck by the fact that you guys are still facing off, slagging each other off, pointedly in dispute, and it is 6 years on.
Exactly right. The key issue is that most of the expert advice and information can be assembled within about a 3-month period, and claims at that point can be settled. So we've had 6 years. Why is it the insurer has to repeat work time and time and time again? We say it's because of a systematic strategy designed to minimise policyholders' payments.
Are other people joining? Other Southern Response?
We have had a lot of inquiries as a result of this announcement by Southern Response.
Grant Cameron talking to us this afternoon. We know we keep making this point, but it's important. Southern Response keep declining our invitation to be interviewed. If you are part of that class action or were part of it, we would love to hear from you about your experience.